Welcome to AgriMinds, the podcast where we explore the intersections of personal growth and professional success in the ag industry. I'm Kacee, your host. Thank you for joining me as we dive in to the different strategies and insights that will help you level up your life and career. From mental health to leadership development, we're going to cover it all. So sit back and get ready to grow with AgriMinds.
Well, hello, I've got Aly Robins with me today. She is a business growth and marketing coach for people within the agriculture industry and rural businesses, and I'm really excited for today. So buckle up because I have a feeling that these conversations that we're about to have are going to get pretty interesting and really deep. So before we get started, Aly, would you mind introducing yourself and telling us a little bit about who you are and what you do?
Yeah, well, thank you so much, Kacee. I know that this has been a long time coming since you and I started working together. We just clicked and we have had such good conversations. And so I'm honored to be on today talking with everybody. Again, my name is Aly Robins. I am a business coach for people in the agriculture and rural industry. Basically, I help them ditch the overwhelm and find clarity in their business direction. I also am the owner and CEO of Snowy Mountain Marketing. That's a website development company. I've got a team of 5 in place over there. So I kind of have 2 different directions of my business journey. My husband and I also own a car wash, but that's a whole different thing over there. So yeah, I love what I do. I mostly really enjoy the business coaching aspect of my career because honestly, that's where people need the most help, is finding that business direction and setting solid foundations in their business so they can grow and scale. I know a lot of people, especially in the ag and rural industries, who just don't set those solid foundations, and then they close up shop and they wonder why. They, sometimes they blame, the markets, or people won't buy because it's too small of a town. And I really think if they do the things that I teach and set solid foundations in their business, they can make as much money as they want. They can grow to levels that they never thought possible. And so that's what I do. I do that through, like I said, one-on-one business coaching as well as group coaching. And that's kind of what I'm about.
Okay, so listen, if for anybody who doesn't know Aly, you've got to follow her on Instagram, and I'll share all the details about that first. But I came across you probably, like, I don't know if it's been a year and a half, 2 years, but I watched your content and I'm like, who is this chick? Like, she is coming out of nowhere with all of these really great insights. And honestly, I reached out. I think I reached out, or maybe you reached out. I don't know. Anyway, we just got to talking and I'm like, yeah, there's something there. Like, this is clicking, and she has a lot of stuff that she needs to share with the world, and I want in on it. And so, yeah, we ended up doing business together. You helped me with my website. You helped me through your program called Rural Business Accelerator, where we just kind of broke down all the things that I was doing and really made sure, like, is this the right piece for this puzzle? And changing my verbiage to make sure my message was clear. What I want to focus on, though, today is how that has impacted not only your clients, but you as a person too, because where you started off was nothing like what you do today. And there was some huge personal and professional development going on behind the scenes. And I think that that's probably led you where you are today. But I want to take like 15 steps back and just dive into that, because some of the conversations that you and I have talked about is our mindset, our what's it called, like your where you're thinking, like, imposter syndrome. And there's so many different areas that we could go to, but being a entrepreneur, especially within the agriculture industry, something that you mentioned was some of the things that people do in the rural communities is it all affects their mindset. And so what I'd love to talk about is kind of like that initial mindset that you had going from where you were working before to where you are now, and what that mindset that you had, and how your personal life and your professional life kind of intertwined, and how that mindset was applicable to both areas. So shed some light on where you were at, and what was going through your mind at that point in time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So way back when I was in high school, I grew up on a small ranch here in Montana. And I loved it. I just loved the agriculture lifestyle, and whoever is listening can relate, right? There's just nothing like it. But the ranch that I grew up on didn't really have enough to, it wasn't big enough to sustain 2 families. And my parents wanted me to go off to college, right, and get a degree, or at least get out a little bit, get away from home. And so I decided to go to college, and that's where I got my degree in rangeland management. And that was the beginning of my career. Because I knew I wanted to work outside, and I knew I wanted to be in agriculture, but I also was like, what makes the most money in the ag industry that I could go into, but I can also be outside. And my dad's like, well, you could work for the government, that's a pretty secure job. If you work for the federal government, you make a little more money. So that's where I went. I went to become a rangeland specialist for the NRCS after I graduated high school, and I worked there for about 3 years. And I wasn't fulfilled, but I didn't really know it. Like, I just thought that, oh, this is just what we do. We just go to work. But I found myself looking for something more subconsciously. And so that's when I opened my very first business. It was a cleaning business, and I booked out quick because everybody wants their house cleaned and their offices cleaned. But it wasn't really sustainable, because when you're working a full-time job and then you go clean, it's just like you run out of time. And so I kind of got burnt out. I really did enjoy it, but there was no room for growth for me, because I didn't know how to run a business or grow a business at that point. And so I closed up my cleaning shop, and I opened up a marketing business because I saw a Facebook ad that said, grow your business, start your own business and run Facebook ads for companies and for small businesses. And so I was like, okay, cool. So I took the whole training, and I learned how to create a Facebook ad. But the way that the gal taught us how to market ourselves was to cold email and cold DM all the time. And so I sent like hundreds of emails and messages to people who I thought needed Facebook ads, but they're like, don't do that. Like, do not cold email us like that. And it felt really icky. And I was like, oh, this is maybe not what I'm supposed to be doing, because I wasn't gaining any traction. I wasn't landing any sales. And so I kind of almost gave up, because I'm like, who am I to be starting a marketing business? I am a rangeland specialist. I know nothing. I can barely open my phone, like get on Facebook. And so, I'm determined. Like, this is just who my personality is. I have this little bit of grit that's like, okay, I'm not going to give up that easily. And so I started typing in Google, like, how to market your business and marketing, typing into the Facebook search bar, marketing and marketing groups. And I came across this Facebook group. It was a free Facebook group. It's called Market Like a Boss. And that was my very first, eventually, business coach. So I got into her Facebook group, and this lady was saying stuff that was just foreign to me, but I'm like, what is this? So I binge watched all of her stuff for 3 weeks. And I was like, wow, this girl knows what she's doing. I mean, she's making hundreds of thousands of dollars from this Facebook group. It's her funnel. She's getting people into the group and then eventually leading them into her group coaching program. And so that was my very first experience to the other side of entrepreneurship. And I became addicted right away. So I signed on with her. It was a 6-month group coaching program. It's very similar to Rural Business Accelerator. And she taught me how to run a business and grow a business. And she taught me how to market myself. I worked my butt off in those 6 months, and I started to land sales. I started to create my own marketing strategy. And I really started to get introduced to this thing called mindset. And it literally blew me away. I'm like, what? You can change your life by changing your mindset? Like, no, this is not a thing. Like, I don't believe it. And she challenged me. There was several other coaches in the group too, and they continued to challenge me on my mindset. And it just completely changed my life and the trajectory of my life. It's completely changed my business. I mean, mindset, if you can address your mindset and where you are right now, and do a good audit and figure out where you want to go and figure out what's causing you to not be able to get there, most likely it's gonna go back to your mindset. And so so that's really where my journey began. I officially opened my business in November of 2019. And like I said, I wasn't landing sales for the first 4 months. And so I signed on with her. And then in November of 2020, that's when I quit my full-time job and I took my business full-time, because there was something that clicked in me, like in my brain, where I'm like, I don't want to be at the NRCS for the rest of my life. Like I was making, I don't know, $40,000 a year. And it was like, people in this group coaching program are telling me they're making like $500,000 a year. What? Like, I don't really want to be a rangeland specialist that bad. I loved my job. I loved working with the farmers and ranchers, but the mindset within that own organization and the government, it was a crap. Like I remember going to a retirement training and looking around and everybody was miserable. And that was one of the key factors to me being determined to eventually quit my job. Like people were there, and they'd been working there for 30 years and they're like, God, I can't wait to get out of this place. And it was just like, is this really what I have to do for the rest of my life? Like, oh my gosh, I would rather work at McDonald's. Not that there's anything wrong with McDonald's, but you kind of pride yourself. And I got my degree, I'm going to work in the workplace, and you kind of have this ego and sense of pride that like I had to do this because I got my degree and blah blah blah. But like I said, something clicked and I was like, I would rather throw my ego away and make $100,000. Like, what am I more worried about, my ego or making money? And I was like, I want to make more money. And I did not want to work at the NRCS anymore. It was just like the culture and the environment, they tried, but like I always say, they just need to burn it down and start over, because it's so just chaotic and there's so many different things that they need to change. And it just wasn't for me. Like that is a good job for some people. Don't get me wrong. Like they really enjoy it. But then I kind of started talking about, okay, I'm going to quit my job. I'm going to quit my job. And people around me and within the organization are like, why would you do that? You have such great benefits. You have good insurance. You make pretty decent wage. I'm like, I don't care. Like even if I don't have any benefits at my, in my own business, I don't care. I'll get there one day, because like I said, I don't want to spend the rest of my life here. I just can't. I just don't think I can do it. And so that's when I decided, all right, I'm going to quit my job. And I set a date, because my business coach told me, set a date to quit your job. Otherwise, you're never going to get there. You're never really going to do it. I was like, oh, okay. At the end of 2020, I'm going to quit my job. And I like mentally started gearing up for this and, getting going, being like, okay, I'm going to do this. And I actually put in my notice at the beginning of October, and then I quit my job November 1st. And so I actually quit early because I was like, I'm so ready. I'm going to do this. And I thought it was such a big, scary thing. Like I didn't even tell my parents. They actually found out through a friend of theirs, which I don't recommend that. They're pretty upset. But because I knew they were going to talk me out of it. And I was like, I'm not telling anybody except my husband, obviously, and maybe a few friends, but I have to do this. Like, this is what I've got to do if I'm going to live a fulfilling life and have a purpose in this life. And so, but I really had to challenge my mindset. And that was one of the biggest things I changed in that point in my life. And I continue to change it. But recognizing, the thoughts I'm telling myself, recognizing the narrative I've been telling myself all along, and getting really, really honest with myself and being honest with my business coach, because she wanted to help me, obviously, right? I paid for this program, and it's like, I have to do everything I can for her to actually help me. Sometimes we expect people to like change our world or to just do magic for us, but we aren't even willing to totally like be vulnerable with them. And so that's where my journey began. And that's where all of that mindset stuff started. And I continued, like, I was just so blown away with the idea of change your mindset and you can change your life.
Oh, that's powerful stuff. And I realize that every person that I've had on the AgriMinds podcast so far has gone from working for corporate America or the government in some way to being an entrepreneur. But I know that several of the AgriMinds members are going to be people who don't really have an interest in being a business owner or being an entrepreneur. They are someone who maybe has been in a role for several years and they're just kind of burnt out with that specific role. Like maybe they've been in sales forever and they're like, really, I've got a passion for marketing. And so I want to make a pivot. What kind of mindset advice would you give to someone who's like, listen, I don't want to get that drastic. I'm just scared to make like one small move because will it rock the boat internally at this company that I work for? Will I change my mind because sales is all I've ever known, but for some reason I really think I'd be great at marketing, but I'm in a career rut. Like this is the one thing that's listed on my resume over and over again. So I don't really have the qualifications or, am I going to regret that? The money is in sales and, I got these big bonuses and these company vehicles and things like that. But what kind of advice would you give to someone who's like, listen, I don't want to get that crazy. Like I'm not looking to drastically quit my job or change the entire trajectory. I'm scared to make one small change because it could have a ripple effect down the line. It may be something that I regret. I may be leaving something really good for something that looks really great, but it may be one of those cases where the grass isn't greener on the other side. What kind of advice would you give for somebody who's kind of working through that struggle?
Yeah, great question. So the first thing I would ask them is like what's holding you back? Clearly there's something holding you back, whether it's a mindset thing or a story that you're telling yourself, or like, you're worried about what people are going to think, or you're worried about making your boss mad. But what is that thing? And then let's start to talk about it. Let's start to bring out some of the misbeliefs that maybe you have. And then the second thing I want you to do is go do some personal development, because literally when you start to work through this personal development and figure out who you truly are, like you're going to be so much more confident in moving forward with your decision, because you're like, wow, this is just who I am. It's totally aligned with where I want to go and who I am and the qualities and the gifts that I have. And I know I can really, really help this company, or, if I changed positions in my career, I know I can make a bigger impact for this company. And so start to dive into who you are, because that's really what also gave me a ton of confidence in moving forward in my business, is like figuring out, oh, I'm a type 8 Enneagram. I'm supposed to be doing, like, this is just who I am. I used to think I was kind of weird, and I was like, insecure about, people used to call me bossy and like, you're just so much and you're just a lot of energy. And I'm like, oh, maybe I am too much. And I started diving into my Enneagram. I'm like, oh, this is just who I am. Like, this is literally how God made me. So that's when I was like, double down on that. And that's when I started to make an impact. That's when I started to change people's lives. And like you said, maybe they're not looking to be that drastic, but that's kind of where it starts. Like, if you do that personal development and you pave the way that way, it's going to pave the way for where you should go professionally. And then like, just start talking with your boss, or, maybe some of your employees around you. Start having the conversation maybe with your wife or your husband. Like, start talking to people about what you want to do. It is amazing to me how many people just don't do that. They just go along to get along, right? They just don't want to talk about anything too serious. And usually it's just like, talk about the weather and everything is cool, all is well. And they never really talk about what they want in life or what they want out of their career. And they don't really talk about maybe why they're not fulfilled or what's missing. And so start having the conversations now, because as you know, if you can talk it out and you can start to verbalize this stuff, it makes it a lot more real. It makes it a lot more kind of secure, and gives you that confidence to then maybe go to your boss, or then maybe apply for the different job. It reminds me of a recent friend who reached out to me. They're in the NRCS, and they work in Montana. And he told me that like he was inspired by my success and whatever, but because he was listening to me and kind of taking a little bit of my advice, he applied for a job in Hawaii. And that was a big step for him, because he was like, wow, this is a huge change. Like, I just moved here, 3 years ago, I bought a house. And one of the other friends within the organization was like, well, what would Aly do? And it just gives me the warm and fuzzies to know that people are moved by the words I say, and that, that's going to give him the confidence to maybe even take a bigger step and apply for a higher up job or whatever. Like, so surround yourself with somebody who is going to support you and listen to you, because that's where it all begins. And then, start on that personal development path and have the conversation with your boss. Like, just start talking. Don't keep it all in.
Okay, so this is an interesting thing because, I've heard a lot of people say, like, don't tell anybody your dreams because somebody could talk you out of it. Somebody could, give their opinion. It could make you feel like you're an idiot. Like, I hear so many mixed things about like talking about and sharing what you want. Now, here's where this backfired on me. And we talk about the working genius here a lot as well. And me being this wanderer, which I didn't have a name for it, 7 years ago when this event happened, but I was on a company trip and one of my vendors was with me and said, so what do you do for fun outside of work? Like, what are your dreams? What do you like to do? And I said, well, I would love to own a vineyard one day. And so I've been studying up on, reading different books about grapes and viticulture and all the things. And I was really into wine at that point in time. And, being in the agriculture industry, I thought this could spark up some conversation, like, I don't know, I love brainstorming. Like, it's my favorite thing to do. I love to talk out loud and daydream. Like, I could do that all day long. And my boss had overheard the conversation, which I wasn't like hiding anything. Like, he had asked me a question and I was going to be like, I don't have any hobbies for the sake of, being respectful at the company event. I don't know. Like, to me, I was like, oh, you want to talk about daydreaming? Let's go. And my boss reprimanded the crap out of me. Like, when we got back to the office, I mean, she slapped my hand so many times of like, how dare you daydream in front of a vendor? Like, that's not the right time or place. You need to keep your aspirations to yourself. I mean, like, chewed my butt all over the place. And I was like, okay, part of me gets it. I was out of line. I was young. Like, this was like my second job ever. And so like, maybe I just didn't have that professional development yet, or social awareness, or, like, what's the proper etiquette when you're on a business trip type of thing. And so like, I was really ashamed. Like, I was so down on myself for doing that. And looking back, it makes me so mad, because now that I know these things about myself, like you said, like, I'm an Enneagram 8, this is just who I am. Like, that's the same thing for me. Like, I was going to allow that person to diminish my light. And the fact that I just didn't know that about myself, I could have taken that experience and been like, I was too much. I was sharing too much personal information. I should keep my thoughts to myself. I shouldn't be daydreaming. I shouldn't be thinking outside of the box. Here's what I should be doing based off of what that manager had told me. And instead, like I said, it almost infuriates me that instead of, someone in a leadership position seeing the thing that I'm getting lit up about and trying to help, like, add to my fire and enable me, it was trying to, pat my fire down. And like, I think there's so much power in someone like you who is 100% an encourager, rather than viewing things as competition or threatening or out of place. Like, let's challenge those things, obviously in a professional and strategic, type of way. But like, I look at so many of the conversations that I've had in the past where I have also diminish somebody else's fire and, said, well, that's a silly idea. Like, why would you even consider that? When that was the one thing that was the one piece of hope that one person could have, and like, I could have completely talked them out of chasing their dreams, or like, who knows what else I could have dampened by saying that one thing that could have changed the trajectory of their entire life. Like, that one conversation that happened 7 years ago with my boss still makes me angry today to think about. And it's like, just knowing, like, you and I having this conversation today could be the one thing that somebody hears where you're like, wow, we don't have to do that way. Like we can do things differently. We can look at things in a different mindset. We can approach something in a way that's different than somebody else. Or like even, you know, like your parents assumed like, I'm going to go to college, you should go do this thing. College isn't for everyone. Or, you know, like I went to college for agriculture, and I know that some of my buddies that went to college with me, like they only went to agriculture school for the sake of their parents and taking over the family farm, when actually they wanted to go do something completely different. And so, you know, I live and breathe by these 4 E's, which is empower, equip, encourage, and enable. And like I just want to make sure that the listeners here like just know, like, the conversations that we have are to share our stories and our experiences, so that way you can learn from them, but also be introduced to different people and different resources in the industry that are supportive to you. Like every single person, yourself included, Aly, that I've had on this podcast are people that I have truly admired their work and just like get a positive vibe from, and like the world needs more of that. So it's an honor to be able to compile these kinds of conversations. But with that, I want to talk a little bit more about like the money mindset and the toxic environment too. So we could probably take this two different ways. But like, you know, you said like some of the people that we were around at the NRCS, like, and this is in any business, right? And we're just not knocking the NRCS. This can be in any business, in any industry. You just may be around people that are like, I gotta go do this task today. Or like, did you see so-and-so? I can't believe she made that statement. Or so-and-so's on my butt again, and I don't know what his problem is. Like, it's just like, there's just constantly people that are nagging. And it's like, you could be that one person that could bring a light to the office. And there was another example of when I was doing an internship at a co-op, and I was this young, spry, bubbly female in a very grungy, older generation type of environment. And I always came in, good morning, how's everybody doing? And, you know, we're here, good morning, Kacee's here. Like they would get so like, oh gosh, what is wrong with this chick? Like, how is she like in such a good mood? And I remember like also feeling like, you know, when I was doing some professional development right around that same time, in one of the programs I was watching, they said, you know, try to adapt to your environment and, you know, like match the mood. And, you know, that way, like, you know, you can kind of like learn how to be flexible and learn how to fit in better and things like that. And I can see the absolute benefit of that. Don't get me wrong, especially like if you're like high strung and you're trying to make a sale with somebody that's super introverted, you want to tone it down a little bit so that way you can match their energy, right? And feel relatable. And I took that way out of context, I suppose, because I started to be like, hey guys, like, good morning. And then one guy was like, what's wrong with you? Like, did something happen? And I was like, no, why? And they're like, you're not your bubbly self. Like, we looked forward to you coming in every morning because you just like reignited and, you know, put a zing in our step every morning. Like, we looked forward to you coming in. I'm like, well, y'all shouldn't act like it, you know? So like, even though I didn't see the benefit of that, like I did make an impact and make a difference. And so, and I think the reverse can be said so too, is like, if you're that negative person, or if you're maybe you don't even realize you're being pessimistic or a victim. Maybe you're just like, I'm struggling, but I don't know how to verbalize it in a way that doesn't sound like I'm complaining. You know, like, what are some of the tips or tricks that you have for someone who is in a toxic environment and they don't really have an authority, or maybe they're newer and you're like, I loved the idea of this job, this role, the things that I'm going to be doing, but the company culture stinks and the toxicity is ridiculous. Like, does somebody push through that, or is that an opportunity for somebody to pivot as well? And, you know, like, I don't, is that part of the initiation period of an entry level job of like, you just have to tough it up. It doesn't matter whether you like it or not. You have to gain this experience. You can't just always leave and have this out to go try to find greener grasses. What's your take on all that?
Yeah, that's a great question, because I see a lot of myself in this story because that was me. Like I went into the NRCS, right? And I was motivated, fresh out of college. Like I didn't know anything, but I was ready to learn. I was ready to contribute. And I wanted to make an impact and help these farmers and ranchers. And it sounded like a great idea. I was able to go outside in the summer, do range inventories, like whatever, drive around on the side by side, do some grazing plans, which I loved. But the team culture and the leadership was not there. And like it remained stagnant. And in fact, I think if you're not growing, you're dying. And so like a lot of the NRCS culture was like, keep you in a box, don't do anything crazy, don't be creative, don't use your gifts, don't use the knowledge that you just learned at 4 years of college. Like, this is how we do things, this is what you're going to do, and that's it. And I hated it. I did not like being on the computer all day. I wanted to be outside. I wanted to be learning. I wanted to be growing, because I knew if I was investing into my knowledge, I was going to then turn around and invest into the farmers and ranchers' knowledge. I thought that was the whole point. And so you can either, yes, you can stay there and try to change it, but most likely the company is going to change you before you change it. And this is an example of my dad. He was a state employee for like 30 years, and him and I are the same exact person, type 8 Enneagrams. We have a purpose. We want to change the world. And he worked his butt off trying to make the state a better place. And I do think he moved the needle, but I also think it's exhausting trying to, take on this huge, I wouldn't say burden, but this huge, maybe, road of like there's so much work to be done to be able to change it. And there's so many things we need to change. And most likely, like I said, you're probably not going to make as big of an impact as if you just found a different route. And I, like I said, I don't like to give up that easily because I've got grit, but in all reality, that's the case. And that's what I finally came to terms with my own job at the NRCS, was like, I think this is a great job for somebody, but I don't think I can change it. I've already tried. I've spent 3 years at the job, and I feel like I haven't made a difference at all. On top of that, there was nothing being changed. Like, I'm looking at the organization at a bird's eye level and bird's eye view, and it's like nothing is changing leadership wise. Nothing is changing organizational wise. Like, everything is just the same as it was back in the 30s and even the 40s. Like, nothing has changed. And so why would I expect it to change for me? And so that was my come to terms with, okay, I can either stay here and just accept it, which, you know me, I don't like mediocre. I don't like settling for less, or I could try my own thing. Even though I know nothing about marketing, I know nothing about entrepreneurship, I know nothing about running a business, which route am I going to go down? And it really just like looking ahead into your future and asking yourself, well, what are my goals? Does this company align with my goals right now? If not, maybe I should look at a different route, so that's what I would look at. And it's different for some people. Some people are at an organization where the company is clearly invested into their employees because they are willing to make it work. They have positive team culture. They've got, leadership in place. They are investing into their employees. And so, but it's the same type of principle. Like, look ahead and ask yourself, where do I see myself in 5 years? Does this align with where I'm trying to go? If so, keep going. If not, let's maybe go down a different route, because otherwise you're just going to continue to question yourself. And I really think that there is an epidemic in the leadership area for business owners, for company bosses and leaders there in the government. Like, there's a leadership epidemic. In fact, this is one of the things that I like to teach in my own group coaching programs, because within the rural industries, like 1 in 7 people, they say, need to become a leader in order to replace the leaders that are headed out, right? Because like my parents, or I would say my grandparents' generation, almost everybody was a leader. It seemed like everybody had to take on some type of leadership role. Well, now those people are slowly phasing out, but we aren't necessarily replacing them. And so ultimately it's created this environment where like the places to work in town, or the companies that are in town, like it's that they suck to work for because nobody wants to work for them. Yet those leaders are turning around and saying nobody wants to work. It's like, well, maybe nobody wants to work for you because you are not a good leader. You suck. And so that's where I think we're at in society, right? And like we're put in this box, and I just hate that. Like God has created each of us in our own way. And this sounds cliche, but it's so true. And I'm a big believer in it. Like there is not one person out there that is the exact same. We have all, that's why I don't really believe in competition. Like there are some people who do exactly the same thing that I do, but I'm like coaching them because I'm like, you've got a really good thing here. Like, because they are their own person. They have their own gifts. They have their own like talents and their own way of doing things. And they would be doing a disservice, and I would be doing a disservice if I didn't encourage them to go do that, right? Because there are people who are going to resonate with them more than they would resonate with me. And so I kind of went on a tangent there, but that's what I think is like team culture and leadership. If those two things are not being addressed within the company or within the organization, and you don't agree with it, trust your instincts, trust your gut, because like you experienced that boss was like, don't ever do that. Like, really? So you're not willing to invest into me or let me even dream a little bit? Like everybody has like everybody's allowed to dream and talk and talk about their personal life, even when we're at work. Like, so if your company or your boss if it's not aligning and you feel like it's going down the wrong path or it's not the right direction, then trust your instincts and talk to somebody. Find a mentor. If you don't have a mentor in your organization, invest into a mentor personally, because it will pay dividends later. You will bypass a lot of barriers, and such as the AgriMinds Mastermind. Like, invest into that if you think it's going to help you, because you are investing into your knowledge, your personal development, you're investing into professional development, and it's going to give you a way better roadmap that's going to bypass all of the barriers that you would originally experience had you not invested into something like that. Okay, that was a long tangent.
Okay, so I think the thing that I want to just point out really quickly, in when you talked about like finding a mentor and investing it, and then earlier when you talked about like dropping your ego, I typically would look to someone older than me to kind of dub them as my mentor, because surely they've got the experience and they've got the wisdom, and they must be able to be the person that can lead me down this path. And honestly, what I found working within the agriculture industry is the older generation has gone through something completely different than what we're going through now. And it's just not applicable. Like they don't understand what our world is today. They oftentimes, we're teaching them new tips and tricks. I mean, yes, they have wisdom, and yes, they have things to share, but I think that that was a holdback of mine of like, I can only learn from someone who's older than me or who's done what I've done. And that's just not the case. And, when I started working with you, and then I found out you're like 5 years younger than me, I almost fell out of my chair, because I'm like, hang on, I'm paying somebody younger than me to help me get this done. Like I was like almost baffled at it. Like, wait, how do you know how to do all this stuff? You're so young. There's no way that you have anything to teach me, because I've been around longer. I have more years on this world. I have more children. Like, there must be nothing that you can offer me. But honestly, that was just not the case. Like, you had so many things to offer. And I think that that's another thing that anybody can benefit from. Like, even if you're in a leadership role right now and you don't have any desire to move up the ladder, and you're past the entry level thing, like you just want to be good at what you're doing now. Like that's a piece of advice that I would give you, is like, be comfortable with where you are now. You don't have to, if you're burnt out or if you're feeling frustrated, that doesn't mean leave and go find something else. There can be a lot of things that you can do in your role where you are now to make that environment and make that culture better. And so I would love to hear, what are your thoughts around, like, what can a leader do if they walked into a already toxic environment, or if they are starting to see like, hey, I was a lower position and I got moved up into a higher one, and I've gotten more responsibility and I'm managing people for the first time, but it's the same company, it's the same team. I'm just in a different role, or I, moved from a different department, or I got hired from another company to come in and help implement change. What kind of advice do you have? Because when you mentioned earlier about these companies that there's this huge leadership pandemic or epidemic, that's what you called it. There's no pandemic. Anyway, I wish I knew how to edit this out, but we're just going to roll with it because I think it'll give somebody a laugh. There's this epidemic of people who are just like, you know what, this isn't satisfying me, I'm moving on. And I think there is value and benefit, and I don't know the right word, I'll think of it in a minute, I'm sure, but there's whatever this word is in being where you are and doing the work right there.
Mhm.
And so I would just love to hear your thoughts around, like, if somebody's in that position, what kind of advice would you give them? Or, what kind of encouragement or tools or resources even can
Mhm.
they utilize to implement positivity and an impact and a change right there where they are, and not just
Mhm.
having to leave to go search for a greener grass?
Mhm. Well, yeah. So I have two things. One, you are allowed to change your mind. So whoever's listening to this, I hope that gives you some relief, because we often think that, oh, we made this big decision and then we get there and it's nothing like we thought it was going to be. And there's this sinking feeling that sinks like in, and we're just like, oh my goodness, this happened to my husband 2 years ago. We up and moved back to central Montana. He got what we thought was going to be a good job. Like, it sounded great. And it was like good benefits, a good pay, and blah, blah, blah. It was exactly what he wanted to do. And we got there, and 6 months later, we're like, this is nothing like the guy said it was going to be. Like, this is the direct opposite. He had zero time at home. He was always stressed out. It was like chaotic. They had like, I tried to pitch my consulting services to them because I'm like, you guys need some help. Like, oh my gosh. And they didn't
I
go.
see an opportunity here.
But like, but Jamie, my husband, he has had probably 5 or 6 different jobs in the last, I don't know, 10 years. And he's always felt ashamed of that. Like, wow, I just can't find happiness. I don't know what's wrong with me. People call me a job hopper. And I looked at him, I'm like, you're allowed to change your mind. Like, it's not a big deal. Go get a different job, or this is not going to work out, because the chaos and toxicity inside of this community, this work environment, is driving me nuts. And I'm like, it's not sustainable. And he just felt like he should stick it out, because, that we up and moved into central Montana, and 2 years later, it's not working out. Actually, I think we lasted 1.5 years. But I'm like, well, I don't see the big deal in just moving on, because guess what? You've got a lot of unique gifts that somebody is seeking for. I mean, he used to get job offers, like, I swear, every other week. And so, like, just recognizing, like, what are your strengths? And what are you good at? What can you be confident in knowing that you are, and how you can change somebody's business? Because clearly you want to contribute. And so ask yourself, is this company, are they willing to change? How open maybe is my boss, or how are they open to having a conversation? Because these are the types of things that I tried to help Jamie with, right? When he was in this position. I'm like, go sit down with your boss and start to have a conversation with him about, where you see your unique gifts, and how it can contribute to this company. Ask him if he's open to changing and putting in some systems and processes. Ask him if he's open to maybe having more regular meetings, so you feel like you're on the same page with him. And his boss just wasn't willing to do that. I wouldn't say give up right away, because that's sometimes where we're like, okay, maybe we're running from something if we're just constantly changing right away and not even giving it an effort. But like give it some time. And like I said, find a mentor to help you through this, because it's just way easier. Like you don't need to do it all by yourself. Life is not meant to be lived alone. And so like, instead of, like you said, maybe for those who are like, okay, I'm in this position now, it's nothing like I thought it was. What should I do now? Maybe, like I said, go and talk to your boss and voice your ideas. I love when my employees come to me, and they're not my employees, they're subcontractors. I love when they come to me with ideas and their thoughts and what, maybe they're struggling with, or where they see this thing can improve. Talk to your boss about it. Give it some time. I want you to leave there. If you decide to leave, I want you to at least leave there feeling confident in the fact that I tried, I gave it my all, but I do have a boundary, because I'm not going to sacrifice my life for this company. It's just not going to happen. I don't want anybody to do that. But that's my biggest advice, because it is easy to just say, oh, there's something better for me out there. The grass is greener on the other side. But at that point, I do think you're probably running from something, right? So give it your best, give it your all, try to contribute, step out of your comfort zone and voice your opinion. But if you think after 6 months, that's what Jamie and I decided at a year, when we were into this job, I said, all right, where are we at? Let's take an audit. And he's like, I'm still not, something is just not clicking here. It's not right. I'm like, okay, let's give it maybe 6 more months. And we gave it 6 more months. And I was like, okay, we have to decide, because I think this is not working. And, we just decided that it's time to move on, because nothing is changing. After the last 6 months, we didn't think we could move the needle. And so that was our cue. Let's move on. So that's my biggest advice, because like I said before, before you change the company's probably going to change you, but you have to at least try. You have to at least give it your all, and then put in the boundary when it's necessary.
Yeah, that's good stuff. And I resonated with so many things that you said, because I, just like Jamie, what felt like a job hopper, and being within the agriculture industry, like, I don't know if there's like this expectation that, oh, you should love all of what you do. You should love every aspect of this, and you're going to be here until you retire, because that's what you love to do, right? Like, every person that I know that's an older generation of mine, like, you started in the coal mine, you retired in the coal mine. You started as a farmer, you retire as a farmer. Like, there's no job change. Like, you don't hear that story very often of, oh, I was a farmer for 10 years and then I decided to change that. Like, unless you went under, you got bought out, like, it wasn't your choice, is what I'm getting at. Like, most of the time. Now, I'm sure there's exceptions out there, but I had that every couple of years itch as well. And I thought something was wrong with me, but I'm just a lifetime learner. I'm that daydreamer. I love newness. I get, like, the first 30 days of starting a new job is my favorite time. Like, I want to meet all the people for the first time. I want to learn about all the cool benefits and perks for the first time. Like, that's the excitement for me. And I was having that same conversation with my husband when he started a new job. And he goes, I just can't wait for, like, my first 4 months to be over. And I'm like, why? And he's like, because I want to get all this crap out of the way. Like, I don't want to go through orientation. I don't want to, like, I just want to know how to do my job. I want to go in and I want to be good at it, and, like, just know what to expect. And I'm like, that sounds boring as heck to me. Like, move on. Like, I would have already been looking for a new job by then. And so I always felt shame and guilt around that, right? Like, people must think I'm a flake. They must think that I don't know what I want in life. They must think, like, all these negative things. And even about this time, a little bit earlier than this time last year, I had finally found what I thought was like a dream job. I was at my hometown area, making killer money, all the perks, all the benefits. And it was great for about 4 or 5 weeks until I found out I was pregnant. And then it was like, whoa, turns out, like, this puzzle piece changes the entire big picture. And so, like, that's just another thing that I want to remind people of. Like, it can be perfect for a specific season of your life, And like you said it, you said it before I was able to, of like, it is okay to change your mind. It is okay to look at the season of life that you're in now and realize this doesn't work for me right now. And so you were the biggest cheerleader that I had when I said, like, I am prioritizing my family time. I really want to chase after this dream of being an entrepreneur and a full-time coach and leading people through some kind of group coaching. And we finally did the work and named it AgriMinds, which is where we are today. So huge credit to you on that. But I mean, it was like, wait, I just found this dream job. Like, I should love doing this, even though I just had a huge life change, right? Like this big impact. And so I went for an entire year of, like finding out I'm pregnant, going through maternity leave, and then coming back and realizing like life just looks different for me now. And what looked ideal for me last year, it doesn't quite make sense for me now. And I had that huge guilt of like, I didn't even make it to the 2-year itch mark, like on this one. And so I just had like that pressure and that weight of like, do I put on this facade and pretend everything looks good? What's my boss going to think? What are my what felt like new coworkers going to think? Like, I had just started building relationships with my clients and I'm already getting this itch. And it's like, like I felt so frustrated. And you and I did a lot of work on my money mindset, right? Like, I'm leaving something that looks really great to leave something that looks good. And am I willing to settle for good now? And you helped me shape that as, but good for now could be amazing compared to what great now should be looking like. Like, it looked great last year, but it doesn't look great now. So that was okay. Try to keep up with the math I just did there. But you know what I'm saying? Like, it's okay to change your mind. Like, there are different factors that you have to consider when you're developing yourself. You are almost simultaneously developing personally and professionally. And that's why I always say, like, we're sitting at the crossroads of personal and professional development, because there may be a day where you're taking 5 steps down the professional development line, and then the other day you're taking 5 steps down the personal. But at the, like, they've always got to intersect at some point, because you are the same human being in both areas. And your mindset around money professionally is going to be your mindset that you had around money in your personal life. Your toxicity or your victim mindset is going to be the same in your personal as it is in your professional life. And so that's why I love like talking about both things. Like, I don't think we can just work on one and it not affect the other. So I love that. Following it. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I want to touch on that a little bit, because absolutely, like, that's first off, like, you were born to be an entrepreneur. If you're like, I change my mind all the time and I get bored over here, I get bored, like, that's because you're an entrepreneur. You're born to be an entrepreneur. I change my mind daily, but I have to have that self-awareness to be like, okay, I got to focus on one thing at a time. But like, that was my problem too. I was bored over here and bored over there. And like, people think, oh, it's such a bad thing about myself. No, it's not. It means you're supposed to be an entrepreneur and you're supposed to be contributing to this world, because when you're an entrepreneur, you can change your mind every 2 years. Like, I love being able to create new offers, build out that offer, market that offer, have people in my group coaching programs, and then I can change it as I please, because it's my offer. It's my group coaching program. I see where things need to be changed, or I see this puzzle piece not fitting, or like the websites, I did websites for the first 2 years and I got bored. I'm like, actually, this is not what I want to be doing, but I knew I could build out this business. So my team can do the actual web development process and I can fit more into the marketing side. Like, don't be ashamed if you're feeling that and you're listening right now and you're kind of feeling like, oh, that's me. Don't be ashamed of that. Lean into it, because you have something greater on the other side that hasn't even been formed yet. And that's what I loved about you, Kacee, is like, you're like, yeah, I have this good job and, I can't believe I already want to be done or whatever. And I'm like, so who cares? Like, this is a part of life. These are the steps you're taking to find that clarity to where you're going to get to be able to finally scale your life and feel that fulfillment that we're all looking for. It's just part of the process. And so don't be ashamed of it. And yeah, like money mindset and mindset, it's going to wherever your mindset is now, whether it's in your business or your life, they totally intertwine. And that's why I talked about earlier how, changing my mindset changed my life. Not only did it change my business, it changed my marriage. It changed my relationship with my family. Like it completely changed my whole life, which then changed the trajectory of my life. So absolutely, your mindset is going to intertwine. And I hate the fact that society says business is over here and your life is over here. It's just not the case. I think agriculture does a pretty good job of saying they're totally intertwined, because like the ranch is your daily life and there's not really a difference. Like, and when we see somebody, right, that's a rancher, we're like, oh yeah, they're a rancher. Like we don't say, oh, they're a rancher, but then they have their personal life. It's not really how it is. And so I love the fact that you said your mindset like applies to all areas of your life. And so if you do the personal work or professional work now, such as the AgriMinds Mastermind, it will apply to all areas of your life. You're not only going to maybe level up your professional life, you're going to level up your personal life, and you're going to just be so grateful that you did that. I know I am so grateful I did the work to do that mindset shift. And so my business is thriving, my marriage is thriving, my life is thriving, and I love life. And so so I love that you said that.
Yeah, that's good. That reminded me when I was at an extension meeting, I think it was last year, they had found the very first annual fair book, and it was from 1886 for our county. And I was like very carefully thumbing through it because, it's super brittle.
Wow.
And the thing that I was like searching for my family's last name to see, like, are we in this book as a vendor, right? And the one thing that I remember was like, everyone was an entrepreneur back then. Very, very few people worked for somebody else. I mean, obviously that existed, but everybody had a business of some kind. They were trading, they were making food for other people, they were raising babies. Like that was their job. Like they were so dedicated to the one thing, but they were so resourceful and so creative, and they knew like how to make things happen. They didn't depend on somebody else. Like everyone was an entrepreneur. And I think you said it right earlier of like, society just makes us think we have to like work for somebody else. We have to follow this particular trajectory. We have to go to school, get a degree, work for somebody else, level up in business, get promoted, have the kids. Like there's like this standard way of life. And it drives me insane. Absolutely insane. But yet so many of us, including myself, are so scared to step away from that to pursue the thing that I think that I can make money at as an entrepreneur. And it's like, if people back in 1886 can make money by, doing the things that they do, and the limited resources and the limited knowledge and the limited logistical thing, like they can only sell and trade within 20 miles from themselves, probably. Just think of what you can accomplish with the internet at your hands, the amount of people that you have connections with, the resources available. It's a whole different world now. And it's like, are you kidding? There is no reason somebody couldn't be successful. You have everything that you need at your fingertips, and people who are willing to share that information and that knowledge. It's up to you to make the decision ultimately to step out of your comfort zone and apply the knowledge and do the work. And it's a no-brainer formulation for me to do it. It's just, we've got to get over that mindset and that fear of what if.
Absolutely. And humans are designed to survive. We are not designed to thrive. Like our everyday life is our mind subconsciously is looking for things to help us survive. That's it. And so it's uncomfortable to get into the mindset of what does it look like to thrive? Because we're going back to, I don't think I can do it. I only can survive. And so getting into the room with other people who are thriving themselves and they're doing the work to thrive and they're thinking bigger than what our society says we can think, that is where it's at. And you are not only going to scale your career, you're going to scale your life, and you're going to step into this different version of you that's going to be like, wow, I can't believe that there is life out there like this. This is amazing. And that's really where you're going to start contributing more to your family. You're going to start being able to invest more into them. You're going to be able to invest more into your marriage. You're going to be able to invest more into your happiness, to your community, to the people around you. It's going to be a ripple effect, but it all starts with you, because you can't keep, as the saying goes, pouring into other people's cup if your cup is not full. And that's really the case. Like, you've got to get really clear with who you are, what you want to do, and start getting in the room with other people who are going to support you, rather than getting in the room with people who are going to downplay your dreams. That's most people in rural America, as we know, because sometimes we have very small thinking. They get nervous, and this isn't just in rural America. It's all over, right? Where their negative mindset or their scarcity mindset portrays into our life. And then all of a sudden we're like, actually, no, we can't do this. No, you're right. I'm just going to stay right here. Get out of the room with them and get into that's exactly what I did because I didn't have a lot of support locally and within my family. And, my husband was supportive, but that was it. My parents were like, don't do it full time. You can just do it on the side forever. And that was exhausting. And so I got out of that, community, and it's not a bad thing. And I don't want to make it sound like they're just terrible, because that's not the case. It just is what it is. I got out of that and I went into this virtual world where they're like, yeah, you can do it. You got this. Like, I love where you're going. And I'm like, what, really? You think I can do this? Oh my gosh, this is scary. And it was a totally different world. And get into the room with those types of people. Stop hanging out with the naysayers.
Yes. There is a quote from Calamity Jane that says, I figure if a girl wants to be a legend, she ought to just go ahead and be one. And,
Yes.
What the heck are you waiting on? If you want to do something, just go do it. I love that so much. This has been a liberating, I feel pumped up after talking with you, because first of all, I know that I'm not alone. I know that there are people and places and resources out there that are going to benefit me. And if I'm feeling like I'm stuck, there is hope. So I loved that we touched on that, and so many good resources that you've mentioned today. But if somebody wanted to follow up with you or just kind of stay in the loop on what you're doing, or if they wanted to join one of your group programs, where can they find you? And, what kind of information do you want to share about that?
Yeah, so I've totally enjoyed today because I love talking about this stuff. And if you are interested in following along with me, I'm on Instagram, Aly Robins, ALYROBINS 1, the number 1, because I can't get the handle Aly Robins. And I also have the group coaching program, Rural Business Accelerator. The doors are opening soon. You can get on the wait list. If you go to alyrobins.com, you'll find the little bar link that says Rural Business Accelerator. It's a 6-month group coaching program for service-based businesses who want to set the foundations in their business so they can actually grow. Most people who join this are on the hamster wheel, right? They don't know what to do next, or they're just struggling to get things off the ground, and they really need to set those solid foundations, but they don't even know what the foundations are. And so we kick things off in July. But like I said, the doors are opening soon. The doors are opening to the people on the wait list first. So be sure to sign up for the wait list. And yeah, if you're like, Aly, I want to have a conversation with you to see how we can work together, whether it's Rural Business Accelerator or one-on-one coaching, then you can book a call with me or send me a message on Instagram. I love working with my clients. So would love to get to know you if you are resonating with this message today.
Yes. And we actually did a recording for the Agriculture and Rural Business podcast about my experience in the Rural Business Accelerator program. And so you'll get a little bit of a behind the scenes of the work that I needed to do, both personally and professionally, to get to where I am today, and how Agriminds even like was evolving and where it came from. So if you're looking for some insider scoop and behind the scenes on that, I think you said that that's going to be released in June. So be on the lookout for the Agriculture and Rural Business podcast. Go on Spotify or wherever you listen to a podcast and follow it, because that will be released soon. So anyway, thank you again, Aly, for joining me today. This has been phenomenal. I cannot wait to continue to see what you have, in the works and what you share with the world. You've always got fantastic stuff. So thank you for joining me today.
Well, thank you so much, Kacee. And I just always appreciate the conversations we have. So yeah, thank you so much, and we'll talk soon.